everyone. How are you all doing? Before we start today's radio broadcast, I have a small request. Please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us keep bringing you content like this. And one more thing. Where are you watching from, and what time is it for you? Let us know in the comments section below. Now, let's get started with today's broadcast. Good evening, everyone. This is Alex from VoiceCast, bringing you live updates as the world faces a night unlike any other. I wish I were here with better news, but what we're witnessing tonight defies understanding. Reports are pouring in from all over the globe. Something is happening, something extraordinary, and possibly terrifying. Strange lights have been spotted in the skies over major cities. Witnesses describe them as vivid, almost like streams of liquid fire cutting through the darkness in patterns that don't make sense. It started earlier this evening. First, in rural regions, where the night sky is clear, people reported sudden flashes of light, bright, precise, and moving with impossible speed. Then, the anomalies spread. Energy surges have disrupted power grids in several regions. New York City experienced a blackout that lasted 15 minutes. London saw a similar event, but this time all communication systems failed momentarily, leaving millions in eerie silence. The sheer scale of these occurrences is staggering, and they are no longer confined to isolated incidents, the lights, the hums, and now the blackouts. They're happening everywhere. Eyewitness accounts suggest an intelligence behind this phenomenon. One listener from Phoenix emailed us just minutes ago describing a peculiar light that hovered above their neighborhood. According to them, it wasn't random. It moved as though it was scanning, searching for something. Other reports describe strange sounds, low-frequency vibrations that seem to resonate deep in the chest. It's not just sound. It's like the air itself is alive. For now, no one knows what we're dealing with, but something is clear. This is not natural. I've just received intercepted audio from military communications, and I want you to hear it for yourselves. Control, this is Echo 7. I'm tracking multiple objects, unidentified and moving at Mach speeds. They're impossible to follow. Adjusting radar now. They're just gone. Wait, no, they're back. Stationary, holding position. No craft should be able to stop mid-flight like this. What are these things? Those were the words of a military pilot earlier this evening, speaking with air control. If his tone didn't make it clear, let me spell it out for you. This isn't normal. We're not dealing with a stray meteor shower or a malfunctioning satellite. Whatever is in our skies tonight is unlike anything humanity has encountered before. Scientists are equally baffled. Just an hour ago, the European Space Agency confirmed the reception of a signal that originated outside our solar system. Structured, deliberate, and impossibly strong. I spoke with Dr. Ellen Harper, an astrophysicist who has spent her life studying the cosmos. Her words were both awe-inspiring and deeply unsettling. We've received pulses before, bursts of energy that are unexplained. But this is different. These signals aren't random. They're patterned, layered. It's as if someone, or something, is speaking a language we can't yet understand. The energy levels are staggering. To send something like this across the vastness of space would require technology far beyond our comprehension. It's both thrilling and terrifying to consider who or what might have sent this. So, what does this mean? Are we on the brink of a monumental discovery? Are we witnessing first contact? Or is this the beginning of something far more sinister? These are the questions on everyone's minds tonight. Questions that, for now, remain unanswered. But here's what we do know. The lights in the sky aren't ordinary phenomena. The signals received from deep space weren't random noise. The communication blackouts, the energy surges, they're connected. This isn't a coincidence. Too much is happening, too quickly, for it to be dismissed as anything but deliberate. And now, As if to underscore the urgency of this moment, more reports are coming in. Strange craft, massive, triangular, and eerily silent, have been spotted hovering over remote areas in Texas and the outskirts of Moscow. Eyewitnesses describe them as enormous, unlike any aircraft we've ever built. These objects, they say, are completely still, defying gravity in a way that no human technology can. The question we're all grappling with tonight is no longer what if, it's what now. What do we do if this is truly the beginning of an alien encounter? How do we prepare? How do we react? For now, all we can do is wait, watch, and report. I'll stay with you throughout the night, bringing you updates as they come in. But as you listen to my voice, as you sit in your homes or wherever you may be, I urge you to take a moment. Look outside. Look up. Those stars you see, the ones that have always been a source of wonder and comfort, they might not be so distant tonight. The world is watching, holding its breath. And so am I. The lights in the sky have given way to something far more tangible and far more terrifying. Just hours ago, reports began flooding in from around the world. What were once distant flashes and unexplainable signals are now undeniable. Massive ships have descended into Earth's atmosphere. They aren't hidden, and they aren't subtle. These colossal, otherworldly structures hover over our cities, our countryside, our oceans. They are here, and they aren't going unnoticed. The size of these ships is staggering. Witnesses describe them as monumental, larger than anything humans have ever constructed. They come in different shapes, some triangular, others spherical or oblong, but their presence is universally chilling. They hover with an eerie stillness, as if gravity holds no sway over them. There are no visible engines, no exhaust, no noise, just silence. Deafening, absolute silence, broken only by the sounds of human panic below. In New York City, a ship shaped like a crescent moon has stationed itself above Central Park. It blots out the sun as if the sky itself is shrinking. In Rio de Janeiro, a spherical object, glowing faintly green, hovers above the Christ the Redeemer statue. Over Tokyo, another hangs like an enormous shadow, its surface gleaming faintly with what looks like shifting patterns of light, symbols perhaps, or technology beyond comprehension. The rural plains of Kansas, the icy expanse of Antarctica, even remote stretches of ocean. No place has been spared. The ships are everywhere, appearing to choose their locations with purpose, as if they're watching, waiting. Governments are scrambling to respond. Military forces worldwide have been deployed, fighter jets circling cautiously beneath these alien behemoths. For now, no action has been taken. The ships haven't attacked, but they also haven't communicated. There's no indication of their intentions, no demands, no introductions, nothing but their silent, overwhelming presence. The tension is palpable. Soldiers stand ready, their weapons trained on the skies, but orders have been clear. Hold fire unless provoked. And yet, one can't help but wonder if our weapons, advanced as we believe them to be, are nothing but toys against technology like this. A classified report leaked just moments ago reveals that initial attempts to scan the ships have yielded nothing. Radar, infrared, and even ground-penetrating systems, none can penetrate their hulls. It's as though they exist in a state beyond our comprehension. The public, meanwhile, has turned to social media to process this collective trauma in real time. Videos and photographs of the ships are flooding every platform. Some users marvel at their sheer size and strange beauty, while others share frantic warnings and conspiracy theories. Has the government known about this all along? Is this the result of some experiment gone wrong? Or are we truly seeing the first steps of an extraterrestrial invasion? One video, in particular, has gone viral. A group of teenagers in Dubai pointing their phones at a massive triangular ship hovering over the Burj Khalifa. The camera shakes as they whisper to each other in awe and fear, debating whether the object is real or some elaborate hoax. The clip ends abruptly as the ship emits a low, resonant hum, sending shockwaves that crack windows in nearby skyscrapers. Amid the chaos, experts are stepping forward, their voices calm, but heavy with uncertainty. Dr. Ellen Harper, the astrophysicist we heard from earlier, has been studying high-resolution images of the ships. Her analysis is sobering. "These ships are unlike anything we've ever encountered," she said in an emergency press briefing. "The material composition appears to be completely alien, something that neither reflects light nor absorbs it in ways we understand. The sheer precision of their construction suggests an intelligence so advanced that they might perceive us the way we perceive ants. This isn't just advanced technology. This is a civilization operating on a level we can't even begin to grasp." And then there's Professor Anthony McAllister, a historian specializing in pivotal moments in human history. He draws comparisons to encounters that changed the course of civilizations. The landing of European ships on the shores of the Americas, the moon landing, even the discovery of nuclear power. But his voice is grim as he concludes, "The difference here is that we've always been the explorers, the ones with the upper hand. This time, we're the ones being discovered, and we have no idea what that means. For the first time in human history, the world is unified in its fear. Political differences, religious divides, economic gaps, none of it matters in the face of what looms above us. But this unity is fragile. In the streets of Paris, panic has turned to riots, as people loot stores and demand answers from a government as bewildered as its citizens. In Beijing, residents have fled to underground shelters, their fear outweighing any hope of explanation. And in small towns across America, families huddle together in basements, listening to radios and praying for safety. The only constants are the ships, unmoving and silent, casting their massive shadows over a planet, frozen in fear and uncertainty. What do they want? Why have they come? Are we facing the beginning of a new era or the end of our existence? No one has answers yet. All we can do is wait and watch and wonder. But let me leave you with this. Humanity has always found a way to survive. Against impossible odds, in the face of disaster and destruction, we've persevered. Perhaps we'll do so again. For now, stay safe, stay informed, and keep listening. I'll be here with you, watching the skies. It began with an extraordinary act of courage or desperation, depending on how you see it. After hours of silence from the alien ships hovering ominously over Earth, governments around the world decided to make first contact. Humanity couldn't afford to wait any longer. The uncertainty, the silence, it was too much. It was time to act. In New Mexico, a remote military base served as the staging ground. The ship above the desert was chosen because it hovered in isolation, far from densely populated areas. A team of scientists, linguists, and military personnel worked tirelessly, assembling what they hoped would be interpreted as a peaceful message. Light signals were chosen, a universal language, or so they believed. Beams of soft blue light pulsed upward, forming patterns that mirrored basic mathematical sequences. It was a message that any intelligent being could recognize. Numbers, the foundation of logic. For a moment, there was nothing, just the vast black ship, its surface smooth and impenetrable, hanging in the sky like a giant wound in reality. Then something happened. A panel, if it could even be called that, opened along the ship's underside. It was seamless, as if the material melted away, rather than mechanically moving. A blinding white light poured from the opening, its intensity forcing everyone to shield their eyes. And then the sounds began. It wasn't a voice, not in the human sense. It was a symphony of tones, low and resonant, echoing across the desert like the vibrations of a massive tuning fork. The ground itself seemed to hum in response. Scientists scrambled to record the sounds. their instruments struggling to capture the complexity of the tones. The sound wasn't random. It had patterns, deliberate and precise, but it wasn't long before something unsettling became apparent. The tones didn't match the sequence of lights humanity had sent. Instead, they seemed to override it, drowning it out. The lights from the base flickered, dimmed, and finally died. The aliens' response wasn't an answer. It was something else. A warning? A rejection? No one knew. The team switched to audio communication, broadcasting messages in multiple languages: English, Mandarin, Arabic, binary code. The effort was monumental, a desperate attempt to bridge the chasm between two civilizations. Yet the response was always the same, more tones growing louder, almost angry. The vibrations were now so intense that cracks began forming in the asphalt of the base. Equipment failed, and then, abruptly, the light and sound stopped. The silence returned, heavy and suffocating, and then they appeared. At first, it was hard to comprehend what was happening. Shapes began to emerge from the ship's underside, descending slowly toward the ground. They weren't machines, nor were they humanoid. Their forms shifted, almost liquid, shimmering in the harsh desert light. They seemed to be made of a material that wasn't quite solid, almost translucent, like living glass. As they descended, they moved in unison, as though connected by an invisible thread. The creatures had no faces, no discernible eyes or mouths. Instead, their forms constantly shifted, as if adapting, adjusting to their environment. They moved with a fluid grace, their limbs, if they could be called limbs, extending and retracting in strange hypnotic patterns. The air around them shimmered, distorted, as though reality itself was bending to accommodate their presence. For a brief moment, there was hope. The creatures didn't attack. They simply stood, or hovered, perhaps, motionless, observing the humans who stood frozen in awe and terror. A linguist stepped forward, her hands trembling as she raised a small device projecting a new sequence of light. She spoke softly, her voice amplified by the microphone strapped to her chest. "We come in peace. Can you understand us?" The creatures didn't respond, at least not in any way that could be interpreted. Instead, they began to emit a faint glow, their forms pulsing with a soft light that seemed to ripple through their translucent bodies. It was mesmerizing, almost beautiful. But then, everything changed. The light intensified, shifting from soft hues to harsh, blinding flashes. The creatures' forms grew erratic, their movements sharp and chaotic. And then came the sound, a piercing, deafening shriek that seemed to tear through the very fabric of the air. People fell to their knees, clutching their ears as the sound overwhelmed them. Equipment sparked and failed. Radios went dead. Vehicles stalled. It was as though the creatures had turned the very atmosphere against humanity. And then the attack began. The creatures moved with a speed that was impossible to track. In an instant, one of them extended what looked like a limb, a sharp, jagged appendage that shimmered like molten glass, and struck the linguist who had stepped forward. There was no scream, no sound from her at all. One moment, she was there, and the next, she was gone, disintegrated into a cloud of ash that hung in the air for a moment before dissipating. Panic erupted. Soldiers opened fire, their bullets sparking harmlessly against the creature's shimmering forms. Missiles launched, but they detonated midair as if hitting an invisible barrier. The creatures retaliated with terrifying precision. Beams of light, impossibly bright and impossibly fast, shot from their bodies, striking vehicles and structures with devastating force. Buildings crumbled, tanks melted, and the ground itself seemed to boil under their assault. Within minutes, the base was in ruins. Survivors fled in every direction, their screams drowned out by the cacophony of destruction. The creatures didn't pursue them. Instead, they turned their attention skyward. The massive ship above them began to hum once more, its vibrations shaking the earth. And then, a beam of light shot downward, engulfing the creatures. When the light faded, they were gone, leaving nothing but devastation in their wake. News of the attack spread like wildfire. The first contact humanity had long dreamed of was now a nightmare. Across the globe, panic turned to terror. If this was the aliens' message, it had been delivered loud and clear. They weren't here to communicate. They were here to conquer, or worse, to annihilate. As the sun set over the smoldering remains of the New Mexico base, the rest of the world held its breath. Reports of similar encounters began to emerge. Brief, cryptic appearances of the alien entities, each encounter ending in catastrophic violence. Cities that had been mere spectators only hours before, now braced for their own horrifying turn. In Chicago, one family's peaceful evening shattered when the alien ship overhead suddenly pulsed with blinding light. Sarah, a mother of two, recounted the chaos in a shaky, desperate voice during a live call with a local news station. We were just sitting down to dinner. My kids were laughing, talking about their day, and then there was this sound. This deep, awful sound, like the earth was groaning. My husband ran to the window, and I'll never forget the look on his face. He just stood there, frozen. I grabbed the kids and ran to the basement. The ground was shaking so hard that it felt like the house would come down. The kids were screaming, crying, asking me what was happening, and I didn't have an answer. Her voice broke, and there was a moment of silence before she continued. When we finally came out, everything was gone. Our street, our neighbor's houses, it was just rubble, smoke everywhere. My husband, he didn't make it. He stayed behind to help our neighbor's boy, and I don't know what happened. I didn't see him after that. Sarah's story wasn't unique. Across the globe, survivors told similar tales of sudden destruction and devastating loss. Entire neighborhoods leveled in minutes. Families torn apart in the blink of an eye. The alien attacks were swift and indiscriminate, sparing no one in their path. One of the first journalists on the scene in Los Angeles, David Carter, broadcast a harrowing account of the city's initial attack. His voice, raw and unfiltered, painted a picture of chaos. I was at Pershing Square when it started. The sky went dark, like someone flipped a switch, and then this light, this impossible blinding light, shot down from the ship above us. People screamed, some ran, others just froze, staring up at the sky like they couldn't believe what they were seeing. The light hit the ground, and everything in its path just disappeared. Buildings, cars, people. It was like they were erased from existence. David's voice trembled as he continued. I saw a bus full of passengers just vanish. No explosion, no debris, just gone. The light moved like it was searching for something, cutting through the city with precision. And then, as suddenly as it started, it stopped. The ship just hovered there, silent, watching. I don't know why it stopped. I don't know what it's waiting for. But I'll tell you this, the fear in people's eyes. I've never seen anything like it. We're not just scared. We're helpless. In the aftermath of the attacks, confusion reigned. Governments struggled to maintain order as their cities burned. Emergency services were overwhelmed. Their resources stretched thin. Martial law was declared in several countries, but even the military seemed powerless against the alien threat. Religious leaders took to the airwaves, some calling for unity and prayer, while others declared the events as divine punishment. Conspiracy theories multiplied like wildfire. Some claimed the aliens were retaliating for humanity's environmental destruction. Others believed this was the result of secret experiments gone wrong, an unwelcome consequence of tampering with forces beyond human understanding. Amid the chaos, small acts of humanity shone through. In Paris, a group of volunteers worked tirelessly to rescue survivors trapped in the rubble of a collapsed building. In Mumbai, neighbors shared what little food and water they had, forming makeshift shelters for those who had lost everything. And in a bunker deep beneath the Swiss Alps, A group of scientists, engineers, and cryptologists worked feverishly, analyzing data from the encounters, hoping to find a weakness in the aliens' seemingly invincible design. One scientist, Dr. Amir Saleh, spoke briefly to reporters from his underground lab. These beings are far beyond us, but they are not gods. They are not invincible. We may not understand their technology, but there must be a way to counter it. There always is. We just have to find it. His words, though faintly hopeful, were drowned out by the sheer scale of the destruction unfolding above ground. Cities once bustling with life were now reduced to ashes. Roads were impassable, power grids failing, communication networks breaking down one by one, and yet the ships remained, motionless, their ominous presence a constant reminder that the worst might still be to come. As the night stretched on, the realization began to sink in. This was only the beginning. The attacks were not random, nor were they chaotic. The aliens moved with purpose, their actions calculated and efficient. They weren't here to communicate, nor were they here to coexist. Whatever their intentions, one thing was clear. They were asserting dominance, claiming Earth as their own. And so, as dawn approached, humanity found itself facing a chilling truth. The first encounter was over. The invasion had begun. The world was no longer watching from the sidelines. The attacks, swift and catastrophic, left no room for ambiguity. This was not a misunderstanding, nor was it an invitation for peaceful coexistence. The alien invaders had made their intentions clear, and now humanity's leaders were forced to respond. Within hours of the first strikes, a flurry of emergency meetings was convened across the globe. In Washington, D.C., the U.S. president addressed the nation from a secure underground bunker. His tone, calm but visibly strained, carried the weight of the unfolding crisis. My fellow Americans and citizens of the world, we face an unprecedented challenge, one that threatens not just our nation, but the survival of humanity itself. Let me be clear, we are not powerless. We are mobilizing every resource, every ally, every ounce of strength we possess to confront this threat. Together, we will endure. Similar messages were echoed by leaders across the globe. In London, the Prime Minister assured citizens that the United Kingdom was prepared to defend itself. In Beijing, the Chinese government declared a state of emergency, urging unity and resilience. Yet, despite the speeches and reassurances, a grim reality was becoming evident. Humanity was outmatched. The military response was immediate and massive. Fighter jets were scrambled, warships deployed, and ground forces mobilized. In the skies above Paris, a squadron of French Rafale jets streaked toward the alien ship hovering over the Eiffel Tower. Their mission, engage and neutralize the target. Missiles fired with pinpoint accuracy, streaking toward the massive craft. For a moment, it seemed as if the attack might succeed. Then, the missiles detonated, harmlessly, against an invisible barrier. The ship didn't move, didn't react. It simply remained, impervious to the assault. Similar scenes played out across the globe. In the United States, a fleet of F-35s engaged an alien vessel over Denver. Their advanced weaponry rendered useless against the ship's impenetrable defenses. In Russia, long-range ballistic missiles designed to penetrate the most advanced military shields were launched at the object hovering over Moscow. They detonated mid-air, their power absorbed by an unseen force. From Tokyo to Cairo, the story was the same. Humanity's most powerful weapons were no match for the aliens' advanced technology. Despite the futility, military leaders pressed on, driven by equal parts duty and desperation. They shifted tactics, focusing on ground defenses and evacuation efforts. In cities across the world, tanks rolled through deserted streets, their turrets trained on the sky, anti-aircraft batteries fired round after round, their barrages lighting up the night. But the aliens didn't engage. They didn't need to. Their ships hung motionless, their mere presence enough to sow fear and chaos. As the attacks failed, global leaders turned to each other, desperate to coordinate a response. The United Nations convened an emergency summit, its members connecting via secure video feeds from undisclosed locations. The implications of intelligent zombies are staggering. If the infected are capable of learning and adapting, humanity's survival strategies must change. Consider the defenses we've relied on for years: noise traps, barricades, and escape routes based on the infected's predictable behavior. If those behaviors are no longer predictable, then those defenses are no longer reliable. This evolution also poses a psychological threat. For many survivors, the mindlessness of the infected has been a source of grim reassurance. Their lack of thought, their inability to strategize, made them less terrifying than they might have been. But now, with reports of infected displaying problem-solving skills and coordination, that reassurance is gone. Survivors are beginning to see the infected not just as monsters, but as predators. An enemy that can outthink and outmaneuver them. One survivor, a former soldier named Daniel, put it this way: "When the outbreak started, I treated the infected like a natural disaster, something to avoid, not something to fear. But now, it feels like we're fighting a war against an enemy that's learning our every move." It's not just survival anymore. It's strategy. If there's any hope to be found in this grim scenario, it lies in humanity's own capacity for adaptation. Throughout history, humans have faced seemingly insurmountable challenges and found ways to overcome them. This will be no different. The key is understanding the enemy. If the infected are evolving, then we must evolve faster. If they're learning, we must outsmart them. And if they're adapting, we must adapt better. To that end, collaboration is more important than ever. Survivors must share knowledge, strategies, and resources. Every encounter with the infected offers new clues about their behavior. By pooling our observations, we can begin to map out patterns, identify weaknesses, and develop new tactics. Another potential avenue for hope lies in the scientific community. While much of the world's infrastructure has collapsed, pockets of researchers and experts continue to work in isolation, piecing together what remains of our understanding of the virus. If we can reestablish communication with these groups, we may be able to uncover vital information that could give us an edge. Survivors, the road ahead is uncertain, but one thing is clear: knowledge is our greatest weapon. The more we understand about this evolving threat, the better equipped we'll be to face it. Over the coming broadcasts, I'll share more insights, more strategies, and more stories of resilience. Together, we'll confront this new reality and find a way to survive. Stay alert, stay informed, and above all, stay alive. Survivors, the stakes have never been higher. With the emergence of these evolved zombies, our familiar survival tactics may no longer be enough. What worked in the past, noise traps, basic barricades, and predictable escape plans, might now leave us vulnerable. These new developments demand that we adapt, and quickly, if we hope to survive. Let's first review the immediate threats posed by these evolved infected. Reports of coordinated group attacks are becoming increasingly common. Zombies that once mindlessly charged at the nearest sound or light are now displaying alarming levels of awareness and teamwork. Survivors have described groups of infected executing flanking maneuvers, intentionally avoiding obstacles, and even using distractions to split defenders' attention. These behaviors are more than random, they're tactical. One survivor account from Crestwood stands out. A group had fortified their shelter with reinforced doors and barred windows, a setup that had kept them safe for months. But one night, the infected didn't attack directly. Instead, they began banging on the walls in a deliberate pattern. While the survivors focused on fortifying the walls under attack, another group of infected broke through a weaker section on the opposite side. This wasn't a coincidence. It was a calculated breach, and it forced the group to flee, leaving behind their supplies and shelter. In another chilling incident near Haven City, survivors reported seeing infected feigning inactivity. A small group of zombies stood motionless near a survivor's safe house, appearing dormant. When the survivors emerged to scavenge, the infected suddenly sprang to life, overwhelming them in seconds. This level of deception is unprecedented and suggests that the infected are learning to manipulate their prey. These examples highlight the urgency of adapting our strategies. If the infected can bypass traditional defenses and predict our movements, we must rethink every aspect of survival. Here are some updated strategies tailored to counter this new threat. 1. Reinforce your defenses. The old methods of fortification, barricades, noise traps, and basic locks, are no longer sufficient. Survivors must focus on creating layered defenses. Diversify your traps. Use multiple types of traps in combination to confuse and slow the infected. For example, pair noise traps with physical barriers that force them into choke points. Strengthen weak points. Identify and reinforce vulnerable areas in your shelter, such as windows, ventilation ducts, or secondary doors. Consider using metal sheeting or concrete blocks where possible. Add redundancies. Don't rely on a single layer of defense. If one barrier fails, there should always be another in place to slow the infected. 2. Stay mobile. Fixed locations, while secure in the short term, may become death traps if the infected learn to exploit their weaknesses. Survivors should be prepared to evacuate at a moment's notice. Have a go bag ready. Pack essential supplies, food, water, medical kits, and weapons in a bag that's easy to carry. Ensure every member of your group has one. Map out escape routes. Know multiple ways to leave your location, including less obvious paths like rooftops, basements, or drainage systems. Use decoys. If you're forced to flee, leave behind distractions like noise-making devices or timed lights to draw the infected away from your escape route. 3. Enhance group coordination. As the infected grow more organized, survivors must match their level of coordination. Groups that work together effectively have a much higher chance of survival. Establish roles. Assign specific responsibilities to each member of your group, such as lookout, scavenger, and medic. Use silent communication. Develop a system of hand signals or light patterns to communicate without drawing attention. Train for emergencies. Conduct regular drills to ensure everyone knows what to do in the event of an attack or breach. 4. Adapt your tactics. Evolved zombies require survivors to think several steps ahead. The infected are no longer predictable, so your tactics must be flexible and dynamic. Avoid patterns. Don't fall into predictable routines. Change your travel routes, scavenging locations, and defensive strategies regularly. Monitor their behavior. Pay close attention to how the infected react to your actions. If they start to avoid certain traps or defenses, it's a sign they're learning. Exploit their weaknesses. While the infected are evolving, they're not invincible. Look for opportunities to exploit vulnerabilities, such as their reliance on sound or their inability to navigate complex terrain quickly. 5. Strengthen mental resilience. Surviving against intelligent zombies is as much a psychological battle as a physical one. Fear and panic can lead to mistakes, and mistakes can be deadly. Stay focused. In high-stress situations, take a moment to breathe and assess your options. Acting rashly can put you in greater danger. Lean on your group. Emotional support is crucial. Share your fears and work together to find solutions. Find moments of normalcy, even in the apocalypse. Small acts like sharing a meal or telling stories can boost morale and remind you of what you're fighting for. 6. Innovate and share knowledge. Innovation has always been humanity's greatest strength. Survivors must continue to develop new tools and strategies while sharing their findings with others. Experiment with new defenses. Try creative solutions like using mirrors to redirect light, creating false pathways, or setting up motion-sensitive alarms. Share your experiences. Every survivor encounter with the infected provides valuable insights. Share your observations with nearby groups or through broadcasts like this one. Learn from the infected. Study their behaviors to identify patterns and weaknesses. Knowledge is power. The need to adapt quickly cannot be overstated. The infected are evolving at a rapid pace, and every moment we spend clinging to outdated methods is a moment of vulnerability. Survivors, we must think critically, act decisively, and work together to stay ahead of this new threat. Consider the words of Dr. Evelyn Carter, whose research into the outbreak has provided some of our most important insights. In one of her final transmissions, she said, survival isn't about being the strongest or the fastest. It's about being the most adaptable. The infected are changing, but so can we. If we stay vigilant, if we stay united, we can overcome this. Survivors, the road ahead is fraught with danger, but we are not powerless. The infected may have changed the rules of the game, but they haven't won. By adapting our strategies, reinforcing our defenses, and staying resilient, we can continue to fight back. Remember, survival isn't just about avoiding death. It's about finding ways to live, to endure, and to rebuild. Survivors, I interrupt our regular broadcast with breaking news. This is an emergency update, and it's one you need to hear. Reports are coming in from the northern perimeter of Colony 78, and the situation is deteriorating rapidly. A safe zone, once thought to be impenetrable, is now under siege by evolved infected. The colony is at risk, and time is running out. We've just received a transmission from one of our scouts, a man named Elias. His voice was steady, but the urgency was unmistakable. "This isn't like anything we've seen before," he said. "The infected are moving as a unit. They're not just swarming, they're breaching our defenses with precision. It's like they know exactly where to hit us." Elias reported that the attack began in the early hours of the morning. At first, it seemed like a typical horde, drawn to the colony's outer defenses by the sounds of activity inside. The guards on duty followed standard protocol, activating noise traps and using long-range weapons to thin the ranks of the infected. But then, something changed. The infected didn't charge blindly at the walls, as they had in previous encounters. Instead, they stopped just outside the range of the colony's defenses, almost as if they were assessing the situation. Witnesses described them standing in eerie silence, their hollow eyes fixed on the colony. And then, in unison, they moved, not toward the heavily fortified main gate, but toward a less secure section of the wall. Survivors, this is more than just a breach. This is strategy. The infected identified the colony's weakest point and exploited it with chilling efficiency. Within minutes, they had created an opening, forcing the defenders to fall back and regroup. We're now receiving additional updates from within the colony. One survivor described the chaos that erupted as the infected poured through the breach. "It was like watching a dam burst," she said. "They didn't just rush in. They spread out like they were trying to cut us off from each other. They weren't just attacking, they were hunting." The colony's defenders are doing everything they can to contain the situation. Makeshift barricades have been erected inside the walls, and civilians are being evacuated to the central safe zone. But the infected are relentless, and the defenders are stretched thin. Every second counts. Another transmission just came through. This one from a member of the colony's leadership council. Her voice was calm, but resolute. "We've faced impossible odds before, and we've survived," she said. "But this is different. These infected, they're learning, they're adapting. We need help. If anyone out there can hear this, and if you're able to assist, we're calling on you. We can't do this alone." Survivors. The situation at Colony 78 is a stark reminder of how quickly the tide can turn. A place that once represented safety and stability is now a battlefield. its future hanging by a thread. This isn't just a crisis for one colony, it's a wake-up call for all of us. If the infected can breach a stronghold like Colony 78, no safe zone is truly secure. Let me paint a picture of what's happening inside the colony right now. Civilians are being rushed to the central square, where the remaining defenders are forming a last line of defense. Supplies are being rationed, and medical teams are preparing for an influx of casualties. The air is thick with the sound of shouting, the clatter of weapons, and the distant, unrelenting moans of the infected. One survivor, a man named Jacob, described the scene as he helped escort civilians to safety. "I've never seen anything like it," he said. "They're not just attacking, they're coordinating. It's like they know what we're going to do before we do it. It's terrifying, but we're not giving up. We can't." Jacob's words capture the spirit of humanity in the face of unimaginable horror. Even as the infected close in, the defenders of Colony 78 are holding their ground, refusing to give in to despair. It's a testament to the resilience that has carried us this far, and it's a reminder that even in the darkest times, we are not powerless. Survivors, I know this news is unsettling. The thought of a once secure safe zone falling to the infected is enough to shake anyone's confidence. But let me be clear, this is not the end. The people of Colony 78 are fighting with everything they have, and they're not alone. Across the region, other survivor groups are rallying to their aid, bringing supplies, reinforcements, and hope. This moment is a turning point. Not just for Colony 78, but for all of us. It's a reminder that survival in this new world isn't just about building walls and stockpiling supplies. It's about staying vigilant, staying adaptable, and staying united. The infected may be evolving, but so are we. Before I close this segment, I want to leave you with a message of hope. Moments ago, I received word that a small team of scouts has successfully intercepted a group of infected, cutting off their approach to the colony's central safe zone. Their quick thinking and bravery have bought the defenders valuable time to regroup and fortify their position. One of the scouts, a woman named Sarah, summed it up perfectly. "We're not giving up. Not today, not tomorrow. As long as there's breath in our bodies, we'll keep fighting. The infected may be stronger, but we're smarter. We're still here." Survivors, let Sarah's words inspire you. The battle for Colony 78 is far from over, but it's a battle we can win. It's a battle that reminds us of what we're fighting for, not just survival, but the chance to rebuild, to reclaim, and to endure. Stay tuned for further updates as this situation develops. And remember, no matter how dire things may seem, we are stronger together. Stay alert, stay prepared, and stay hopeful. The fight is far from over, and together we will endure. I know the world feels heavier than ever right now. The ground beneath our feet seems less stable, and the light we cling to can feel far too distant. The reports of evolved infected, the fall of safe zones, and the breaches of even our most fortified colonies are enough to shake anyone's resolve. But I want you to hear this. You are not alone. Fear may feel like a weight pressing down, but it's also a reminder that you're alive. And as long as we're alive, there is hope. Fear is a natural response to danger, but it doesn't have to paralyze us. In fact, fear can be a powerful motivator, driving us to act, adapt, and overcome. That's what we've always done as humans. We take what frightens us and turn it into fuel for resilience. Let me share a story of just that. A story of survival against overwhelming odds. A group of survivors in Ashford found themselves surrounded by evolved infected after their safe house was breached. With no weapons and no easy way out, they used their wits to create a distraction. They gathered every reflective surface they could find, mirrors, broken glass, and even polished metal, placing them strategically around the area. When the infected moved toward the noise traps, the reflections scattered the light, confusing them and giving the survivors just enough time to slip away. That small act of ingenuity saved their lives. It's a reminder that even when the odds seem impossible, There's always a way forward if we stay calm and resourceful. The infected may have changed, but they're not invincible. They have weaknesses, and as long as we continue to learn and adapt, we can exploit those weaknesses. Another story comes from a survivor named Clara. Clara was traveling alone, searching for supplies in the wasteland. When she stumbled upon a small boy hiding in the wreckage of an overturned car, her first instinct was to move on. She had barely enough food for herself, but something in her wouldn't let her leave him behind. She decided to take him with her, despite the risk. Together, they found an abandoned farmhouse and turned it into a temporary shelter. Clara taught the boy how to stay quiet, how to scavenge, and how to protect himself. Over time, she realized that saving him had saved her too. For the first time in months, she had a reason to keep going. Clara's story is a testament to the power of connection. In this fractured world, it's easy to feel isolated, to believe that survival is a solitary battle, but we are stronger together. Every act of kindness, every bond we form, reinforces the web of humanity that holds us all up. The infected may be learning to hunt, but we've always known how to unite. Let me share another story, one that highlights the strength of a community working together. In a small settlement near Ridgeway, survivors pooled their skills to create a new type of defense. They built wind-powered alarms that could detect movement in the surrounding area, alerting them to approaching infected without giving away their location. Engineers, farmers, and scavengers all contributed, sharing their expertise and resources. When an evolved horde tested their defenses, the alarms gave them enough warning to set up an ambush, turning the tide in their favor. It wasn't just the technology that saved them. It was the collaboration. These stories remind us that no matter how dark things seem, we have something the infected will never have: each other. We have the ability to think, to create, and to care. And those abilities are what will carry us through this storm. Survivors, I know many of you are feeling the weight of despair right now. You're tired, you're scared, and you're wondering how much longer you can hold on. But let me tell you this, every breath you take, every step you make is an act of defiance. It's a declaration that you will not be broken, and you are not alone in that fight. Even in the darkest moments, there are reasons to hope. I recently heard from a survivor named Miguel who had spent weeks trying to reach his family after they were separated during a breach. He traveled hundreds of miles on foot, navigating dangerous terrain and dodging infected at every turn. When he finally found them, they had fortified an old church into a safe haven, complete with gardens and water filtration. His reunion with his family is a reminder that even in the apocalypse, love and determination can overcome incredible odds. Another story comes from a survivor colony that faced a breach similar to what we've seen at Colony 78. When their outer defenses fell, the entire community rallied to protect their most vulnerable members. Elders and children were moved to the safest part of the colony, while the strongest fighters took shifts holding the line. Those who couldn't fight cooked meals, tended to the injured, and reinforced barricades. Their unity and resilience not only saved lives, but strengthened their resolve to keep going. These moments of courage and ingenuity aren't just stories. They're proof that hope is not a fragile thing. Hope is a choice we make every day. It's in the hands that rebuild broken walls, the voices that comfort scared children, and the hearts that refuse to give up. As we face this new threat, I urge each of you to find your own reasons to hope. Maybe it's a loved one you're fighting to protect. Maybe it's a memory of a better time or a dream of a brighter future. Whatever it is, hold on to it. Let it be your anchor in the storm. Remember, survivors, you're not defined by the darkness around you, but by the light you carry within. The infected may evolve, but they cannot take away what makes us human. They cannot steal our compassion, our ingenuity, or our ability to stand together in the face of adversity. Let me close with a challenge to each of you listening. Reach out to someone, whether it's a fellow survivor in your group, a neighboring safe zone, or a voice on the radio. Make a connection. Share your stories, your strategies, and your strength. Together, we are stronger. Together, we can endure. Survivors, hold on to hope. The road ahead will not be easy, but it is a road worth walking. And as long as we walk it together, we will find a way. As we reach the end of this broadcast, let's take a moment to reflect on everything we've covered today. The world we knew is gone, replaced by one where survival demands constant vigilance, adaptability, and courage. Yet, even in the face of evolving threats, we remain resilient. Together, we've explored the growing danger posed by evolved zombies, shared strategies to counter this new threat, and celebrated the ingenuity and determination of those who continue to fight. Let's start with a quick recap of today's critical updates. Reports from multiple survivor groups have confirmed that the infected are no longer the mindless creatures we once knew. Their behaviors, coordinating attacks, avoiding traps, and even deceiving survivors, point to a disturbing level of intelligence. This evolution changes everything we thought we understood about the apocalypse. We've shared stories of survivors facing these evolved infected and the strategies they've developed to adapt. From layered defenses to portable go-bags, from silent communication to studying the infected's behaviors, the key takeaway is clear. What worked before may no longer be enough. To survive, we must think critically, act decisively, and work together. We've also discussed the power of hope and unity. Stories of survivors like Clara, who saved a child and found a new purpose, or the Ridgeway community, who combined their skills to create innovative defenses, remind us that humanity's strength lies in our ability to connect, create, and endure. Even as the infected evolve, they cannot take away what makes us human. But survivors, the fight is far from over. Just today, we received breaking news about the breach at Colony 78, a stark reminder that no safe zone is truly impenetrable. The infected exploited the colony's weakest points, forcing the defenders into a desperate battle to protect their people. Yet, even amidst the chaos, there were moments of bravery and resilience. Scouts intercepting incoming infected, defenders forming new barricades, and leaders rallying their people to keep fighting. This crisis serves as both a warning and a call to action. If there's one thing this broadcast has made clear, it's that survival in this new world requires more than just strength or speed. It requires adaptability, ingenuity, and the will to keep going, no matter how daunting the odds. The infected are evolving, but so are we. And as long as we continue to learn, share, and unite, there is hope. Before we conclude, I want to leave you with a few actionable tips to take forward. 1. Reassess your defenses. Look for vulnerabilities in your shelter, and don't assume any location is completely secure. 2. Stay mobile. Always have an escape plan, and keep essential supplies ready for quick evacuation. 3. Observe the infected. Pay attention to their behaviors, and look for patterns or weaknesses you can exploit. 4. Build alliances. Connect with other survivors and share knowledge and resources. Unity is our greatest advantage. These steps won't eliminate the threat, but they will increase your chances of survival. Remember, every day you survive is a victory, and every victory strengthens the collective fight against the infected. Now, before we close, I want to share one last story, a reminder of why we keep fighting. A small survivor group from the outskirts of Ashford recently sent word of their success in reclaiming an abandoned farm. Using nothing but scavenged tools and sheer determination, they turned the overgrown fields into a source of food and hope. Their leader, a woman named Grace, said this: "The infected may have taken our past, but they will not take our future. As long as we have each other, we will rebuild." Grace's words resonate deeply. The road ahead will not be easy, but it is a road worth walking. Every seed we plant, every wall we rebuild, every life we save is a step toward reclaiming what was lost. Wait, hold on. Survivors, something's not right. I'm hearing movement. It's faint, but it's close. Give me a moment to check the monitors. It's coming from the western perimeter. That area was secure earlier. There shouldn't be anything out there. I'm switching to the external cameras now. Survivors, stay with me. There's something out there. It's just beyond the floodlights. I can't make it out clearly, but it's not moving like a typical infected. It's staying low, keeping to the shadows. Survivors, this doesn't feel right. I'm seeing more now. They're not rushing the gates. They're waiting, watching. Survivors, I've never seen them behave like this before. It's almost like they're testing us, looking for a way in. If this signal goes dark, you'll know why. I'll try to relocate and reestablish contact, but I can't make any promises. For now, stay alert, stay safe, and remember everything we've shared today. The fight isn't over. Not for me and not for you. This is not the end. As long as we draw breath, there is hope. Survivors, stay tuned. I'll be back. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share it so more people can experience it too. And if you have any suggestions or feedback, don't hesitate to drop a comment below. We'd love to hear from you. Also, make sure to subscribe to the channel because your support is what drives us to create more amazing content. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.